This is OFA Team Talk, an Oxfordshire FA production.
This week on OFA Team Talks, our football development manager Mike Thurlow sits down with Oxfordshire Over 50s Premier League chairman Andy Bennett and secretary Nick Brown to discuss the rise and rise of over 50s football, expansion plans, why players should dust off their boots and come out of retirement, and going international.
Today I'm delighted to be joined by Andy Bennett and Nick Brown from the Oxfordshire Premier Over 50s League to talk all things over 50s football. Hi Andy and Nick, how are you both?
Yeah, all good, thank you.
Yeah, very good, thank you, Michael.
Thought it'd be good to start by telling us a bit about yourselves, how you've come to running an Over 50s League in the county.
I just happened to be asked to play in the Over 35s League for an Oxfordshire County Council team, and from there the teams moved naturally almost into a newly formed Over 50s League. The guy that was running it was part of our team. He stepped back and seemed natural to put himself forward.
I've run girls teams as a manager, as a coach. I've run men's teams. I've run the Over 35s, now the Over 50s. Along the way, I've picked up roles as chairman, secretary, chairman of various girls leagues, then the Over 35s, the Over 50s, both as secretary and now as chair, and also as a referee. So know a little bit about the rules of the game and the laws of the game because they're all confusing because they're all called laws.
Nick, can you tell us a little bit about your role on the committee for the Over 50s League and what kind of roles you pick up?
The main role really is fixtures and communicating with teams. I know that sounds quite small, but it's quite a big role, and obviously myself and Andy work well together as well. We communicate quite regularly, so the work we do is appreciated by everyone that takes part.
Well, I'm going to jump straight in there because Nick, you do far more than you've just let on. Nick has literally done most of the fixtures, the referees, the organisation, every bit of communication, AGMs. Wonderful chap, and I'm not just singing your praises because you're on air and I'm in front of you. But no, Nick does a tremendous amount as a secretary in this league and drives the improvements that that we're seeing right now.
We're going to touch on the growth and the improvements of the league and the journey a little bit later. I thought as well it'd be good just to discuss what Over 50s football is and give the listeners a bit of an idea of what this game is all about.
Well, again, in essence, it's enabling players age 45 plus to continue playing 11-a-side football, sticking as close to the regular football rules as we possibly can. The main difference really is rolling substitutes. We use sim bins as well, but I mean that's now rolled out across a lot of leagues. Really, the rolling subs is probably the biggest difference to what I'd call regular grassroots football.
Yeah, and again, I'll support the comments made by Nick there. Really, once you get to a certain age in your over 35 playing days, you realise that there are these 35-year-old whippersnappers that can run you ragged, and at the ripe old age of 45 going onwards, you realise I need something else because I'm not keeping up with these guys anymore. So the Over 50s League was really formed in that way to enable players to continue that in that way before they go on to something like walking football if that's their next progression. But the beauty of the Over 50s League is anybody over the age of 45, we do only allow 3 of those 45 to 49-year-olds on the pitch at any one time, but you can have 6 in your squad. But it's predominantly for the over 50s, and there are guys that are in their late 60s. And I think we had certainly one guy who was 73, I believe, still playing active football. But predominantly it's aimed at 50 to 60-year-olds. And then we go into things like rep sides to enable 50s and over 60s to play in those type of games.
You mentioned walking football. Have you had many players almost come back down the pathway and get involved in over 50s football that were playing walking football?
I'm not aware of too many, although one of our newer teams, I think, has managed to sort of secure a few players from that arena. But I mean, there's no reason why you can't do both. Best of both worlds. The more football, the better.
Absolutely. And again, we're both on the website with our email and contact details, and we just wait and see if there is anything coming in. And if somebody applies to become an over 50s footballer that happens to have been a walking footballer because they didn't realise there was an over 50s league perhaps, or possibly an over 60s rep side or something like that, we welcome them. And then what we try to do is feed those players into clubs who are just getting off the ground to come and join the league, or existing clubs that are perhaps struggling for numbers. Certainly at the moment, the numbers are starting to grow rather than fall away. And of course, the Hellenic Over 35s League is our feed path, if you like. The players coming through that are all aware, because most of the clubs that we've got in the over 50s have got over 35 teams, or many of them have, so they know the natural progression when they get to that certain age.
Can you tell me a bit about how the league started and what that journey has looked like? I know you've mentioned the growth of the league. If you give us a bit of an idea of what that journey's looked like.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar. It's like Andy said, many of the players started off playing in the Hellenic Over 35 League. You get to that certain age where you're either not getting as many games as you want, or you're just not keeping pace with the youngsters that can come into that league. So I think it was 2013, a guy called John Daly, who used to play for us or play in our league, he had already started an over 50s rep side, so a few of the older players were playing in that. And then as that became more and more popular, the league evolved naturally, and then a few teams were formed. I think it was 4 or 5 teams, and from there it seems to have grown until we are now currently with 8 teams, going on maybe 13.
The small number just came out of that over 50s rep side, and as that number of people grew, it made sense to begin a league if we could. So we introduced those 4 teams, just really playing on a sort of a round robin basis, more 3 times, 4 times a season. But then we found Pershore and Droitwich and teams from Gloucestershire were doing similar things, so they were struggling to get their over 50s league started. So we asked a couple of those guys to join us. So although there was a bit of travelling in the early days, hour and a half journey up to the wilds of Gloucestershire, it was good because we were playing different opposition. And then the word got out in both counties that there was a league going on, and we were able to split away. And both counties have got reasonably healthy leagues at over 50 level. And as Nick said, we're in a position this year where we could grow to as many as sort of 13 teams this year. So it's a superb league that's evolving as we speak and growing every year, which is really good.
We're covering quite a fair bit of the county, to be honest. We've got obviously Chinner with Andy. We've potentially got a new Bicester team. We've got a new team from Tame. Got a team based in Headington, a Witney team, a Northley team, a Goring team, and a couple of teams out in Bucks, which is Hazelmere and Marlow, and also Wootton Bassett have joined in the last season. So we're sort of spreading our wings, and we're still looking for more, because we always want the more teams the better, really.
Absolutely. And along with those teams, just to mention, Northley have now sprung another team out of their own pack. So there's 2 Northley teams and I believe 2 Hazelmere teams as well coming in this year, since the 13 potential. So yeah, we're growing, and it's nice to see that numbers are swelling, and in the same club you've got numbers growing to sort of 40 to 50 people, which in fairness at over 50 level you need, because you need a squad of at least 20. It does take a few days for some of those strains and stretches to heal up, not quite as quick as they used to do when you were playing it over 35 level. But yeah, no, good again. It's going well. Pleased to see more and more teams, and like, as Nick says, across the county and growing. But we're always actively looking for new teams, and if somebody wants to start a team or thinks they've got the basis of a new team, by all means get in touch with one of us. And if we've got some spare players or know of players that might help out, and certainly parts of the county that we've not hit in that spread of teams that you've just heard, then give us a call, give us an email, and we can perhaps start another team, and there's some more teams for next year. And even if you're only a team that's starting thinking, well, I could probably get 8 or 10 or 12, well, maybe we can get you involved in a friendly way. And if we can get you playing friendlies at any stage during the course of this season or next, then who knows, you might grow another team from that, because there'll be more interest. So again, give us a call, have a chat.
It sounds like you've got some really good coverage, getting more teams involved. Are there any areas in the county that you'd like to target and think, actually, this is a real area of opportunity?
Yeah, I think we've pinpointed the north of the county, but mainly the Banbury area, because we've got nothing at all in that region. And based on our experience with the rest of the county, we know there are obviously players around. Banbury can't be completely different to the rest of the world, so that's where we're looking to target primarily. But I mean, obviously, as Andy said, we're open to offers from anyone for new teams.
Yeah, and indeed, I know of the over 35s league. I think Deddington have got a team at over 35, so they'll be looking to perhaps start an over 50s at some stage, because it makes that natural progression. And of course, it keeps everybody fit, healthy, and keeps them going, keeps them interested in football. And as all of us know, that the activity of football is not just exercise, it's social, it's interactive, it's friendly, and something that we've always encouraged in this league in particular, although football should always be like this, but in our league in particular, it's supposed to be a friendly league to keep us all involved. And although it's not all about just, I'll give him the ball and I'm not going to make that tackle. Don't believe me, it's not like that at all. It's still very competitive, this level. Don't expect it to be an easy ride. And if you're on the border of, I'm not quite sure whether I'm going to be able to move very fast on a 11-a-side game, so maybe I should go to walk-in. Maybe walk-in is the option for you, but why not come and have a look at some of the games? They're on the website. You'll see where we play. So by all means, come down and have a look and see if you think, do you know what, I can do that. And if you can, get involved.
If there is anyone listening and they are on that kind of fence, what would you say to them to encourage them to get involved?
Basically, just get in touch and we'll get them down to a game and get them involved. A team that's local to them, we'll get them involved in that team. If there's not a team local to them, we'll try and do something whereby they can be involved with a team, get them along, and even if it's just for training initially. And best experience is to come and watch a game between two existing teams and you get a gauge of what the level's like. Socially, it's a very friendly league. You don't get many yellow cards or anything like that in the league. It's a very competitive league. Everybody wants to win, but it's done in the way you want to play football, done safely, and everyone's got to get up and go to work in the morning. So I think that's at the top of everyone's mind, especially at the ages we are.
And it is a friendly league. I've got some very good friends through this league, through over 35s football and now over 50s football. And something we probably haven't touched upon is I'm actually 61 this year, and I only stopped playing last year through injury that finished me off, but Nick is still playing regular games. Many a time I've tried to put a ball past him and he's put me off and put it around the post. I'd love to still be involved, but I am. I'm chair, I'm manager of Chinner Football, Chinner Over 50s, secretary of Chinner Football Club, so I'm still involved and I love it. And I think anybody that's listening to this is going to be interested. If you're interested in it, you've got an interest, so you've got to come along and have a look, see what's available, what standard it is. Can I get back out there? Because you might have had a break since you were 38 or 39 or 40. We're not saying you can't play football, because if you're listening, you're interested. So get involved and come along and have a look at the games.
I just want to touch on as well that you can play in the league, but then there's also the representative teams. Can you tell us a little bit more about how they work and how they've come about?
Yeah, we've got two rep teams, the 50s team and the 60s team. The 50s team probably hasn't really got properly going yet, but that's something we want to grow this season and beyond. The 60s, again, I mentioned John Daly earlier. He took on the role as the 60s manager and he pulled together a lot of our 60 plus players and basically managed to get them some regular games all over the country, basically, and some games against Wales as well. So they've got their own over 60s league. Since then, John stepped down and we've got a couple of guys, Kevin Bovington and Stephen Knapp, who now run it. And to be honest, they've taken it probably to a new level because they're now organising a tournament between a lot of these teams they play friendlies against. They've also, I think they've invited Wales, Northern Ireland and England. And yeah, and they see, every time I see an email from them, they seem to be, there's games every week. They're playing more than the 50-year-olds. So, I mean, that shows the level of interest there is. And going further to the point Andy just made on the previous question, if you're not interested in playing, there's always something you can do for clubs. I mean, whether that's running the line or doing paperwork, I'm sure every club would be happy for any offers of help for someone who just wants to be involved in football in any way they can.
Yeah, great point that is, Nick, because again, I get a lot of pleasure out of doing what I do and I don't kick a ball anymore. So it's really important, that point you've just made, and very well said. Yeah, the over 50s, as Nick said, the rep side is something that we set up to happen, but because we're playing quite a lot of regular over 50s games in the league, and we also do a cup which does involve Gloucestershire as well, so we've probably got, I can't remember, Nick, is it about 20 teams in the cup this year?
Hopefully we'll get 21 this season.
Yeah, so 21 teams in the cup across the two counties and making it a sort of an inter-county cup, and then that will break away into a plate cup of some kind. So again, because we're playing so much over 50s football, the over 50s rep side, as Nick says, hasn't really needed to be used, if you like, to give players more football. But the over 60s, absolutely, they're just flying at the minute. They really are. kicking the ball a lot. And that although they take a squad of about 20 for various reasons that you can probably guess, because they might be needed. Because again, what we haven't told you guys is we play 45 minutes each way at over 50s. The over 35s only play 40 minutes each way, I believe. So we wanted to make it still as a real experience as possible for the over 50s, hence the need for a bigger squad. So, but no, yeah, the over 50s and over 60s rep sides happy, playing lots of football, and who knows, over 70s.
Have you guys had a chance to play for the rep teams, or have you not got picked yet?
Personally, I'm not old enough for the 60s. And no, because like I say, the 50s hasn't really got off the ground. So
I did manage to squeak into the rep side, probably on reputation rather than ability. But yeah, again, over 60s, sadly, I won't see that pitch.
I don't know if you mentioned, when does the league and the fixtures take place?
Well, generally, we try and get the season started in the first week of September, and in an ideal world, we close the season down at the end of April. So the games are all between those two months, and on average, it works out a game every other week, which seems to be a comfortable level for people of this particular age, who obviously have things going on outside of football, as well as wanting to keep fit and play football as well.
Are these all on Sunday afternoons, or do you have midweek games as well?
It's a mixed bag, to be honest. We started out as a Sunday league, but it's evolved, and with certain teams that have joined wanting to play midweek games. So some play on a Monday evening, some are playing on Wednesday evenings. Last season, I think Wootton Bassett were playing on a Saturday afternoon, unless a team particularly couldn't play a Saturday, then they'd play a Sunday. So it's a very, the bottom line is it's very flexible. Between the two teams, we'll allow them to play whenever they want. I mean, they can play at midnight if they can get a pitch organised and both teams are happy to play. As a league, we're not really that strict as to when the matches have to be played, as long as they do get played.
The mention of not very strict, we encourage friendly football. We really don't. I don't think we've ever issued a fine of any description, other than one of those poor players that might get one of those yellow or red cards that occasionally happen, but again, so infrequently. I can't recall booking a player as a referee in this league, so it's so good. And as I say, the flexibility, as Nick said, it is encouraging players to play football, not saying you have to play on a Sunday, therefore if you can't, you're out, you're not getting a game. And also something Nick mentioned was between September and April, but the way he cleverly does it, he gives us that lovely 6 or 8 week window between sort of December the 10th or 5th or something like that, through to about the 2nd or 3rd week of January to recover after Christmas, and let the pitches have their little breather as well. So there is a period over the Christmas break that we're not playing football, so it doesn't interfere with family life, because obviously at 50-year-olds we've all got potentially grandchildren at our age. So yeah, we're trying to make it as easy to play rather than not to play.
Chatting to players and managers, there does seem to be a big buzz about the league. And what do you think makes it so special?
I think it's probably the fact it is quite laid back, it's flexible, it's geared around when players want to play. So it's not us saying, right, you've got to play this game on a Sunday afternoon at this time. It's a case of, right, when's the best time for you to play your games? So it's relaxed in that sense. Obviously we affiliate, so we abide by all the FA rules. Within those confines, we allow the teams to have the flexibility to play the games when they can.
I think it's worth pointing out, inclusion's a very good word, because when you're in an over 35s team and you're still in that zone of ability and you're playing every week and fighting for cups, and then gradually you become a little bit slower at the age of 45 perhaps, there is the potential for somebody to just hang their boots up again, because some of them retired and gone back to football. But you don't want to hang your boots up. You're going to be included in the over 50s league, and guess what, at 45, when you first come along, you're one of the fitter, faster, better players in the main. So because you're being included, and again, it progresses through, and I use myself as an example. I started, when we first started in 2013, so I was already 53 at that stage. So the inclusion of me, probably because I was manager at the time as well, probably helped. But yeah, I was able to be included in a competitive side and felt comfortable in that age range. But at a given point, and if I hadn't had any injury, I would be playing over 60s football now. And I still believe it's because the inclusion is there. Again, our pool of players is a relatively small compared with the pool of players that over 35 level, and certainly over 25 level and younger. There are hundreds of thousands of people playing, certainly over 50, you're invited to come along and play. But I think people are there because they still want to be involved and they enjoy being involved. And again, there's no pressure. There's no pressure. And you can walk off, and if you want a 10-minute break, have one. 10 minutes off, come back on again. And that sometimes helps the league to include players more often. And I think rolling subs is a brilliant addition to our level of football, certainly.
Just interested to understand what the plan is for the kind of over 50s football in the county and kind of your league for the future.
This coming season, with the 13 teams we're having, we took a decision at the AGM to say that 11 teams in one division is the pure maximum we can go to, just because to maintain that every other week match day. So for this coming season, we're splitting off into 2 divisions. So in an ideal world, we just want to keep growing the league, increasing the divisions. Don't know how realistic it is to maybe go into a 3rd division, maybe 3 divisions of 6 or 7. Depends how many players we can dig out from places.
Well, it would be lovely to think that the league can keep on growing and growing and growing. We're relatively young at 2013 as our starting point, but relatively old with our players. We've gone from 4, we've gone to 6, then to 8, then we did 8 teams last year, and we're really fortunate this year that we got another 5 teams interested. But it actually almost took us by surprise in a way, because we were expected, if we can get to 11, that's perfect. Once a fortnight we can play football. But the good news is, if it goes to 13, then we have to make that decision to split into 2 leagues. But we will probably play 2 or 3 games, an extra cup or something. So you won't play less football. You just might play a mini league at some point to give you a number of games that you would have had if you were in a league of 11. But again, as Nick says, just keep growing. And if we can get to 2 leagues of 11, would be superb. That would be a great position to be in, because then everybody's getting the right amount of football. But if a 12th team suddenly came along to the 2nd division, we would break the 3 leagues into 3 leagues of 8 or whatever we need to do, and everyone will be kept on being included. And I just think we have to evolve as teams emerge. And until no more teams start coming out and we start losing teams, which hopefully is a long time away, because we still want to encourage it to grow, then I think we will adapt. As a committee, we adapt, and we're very flexible, as Nick's mentioned earlier. Flexibility is this league. It's just trying to get as many people playing football at our age as we possibly can, because guess what? It keeps you fit, keeps you involved, as I keep saying.
On that note, before we end, it'd be great for you just to remind anyone that might be listening, if they do want to get involved, how can they go about getting involved?
If you want to contact the league, the best way is to Google Oxfordshire Premier Over 50 Football, and here it is, right in your face. It'll pop up. You'll see Nick's name on the page. You'll see Andy Bennett's name, Nick Brown's names, and email addresses are on there. By all means, ping an email. And of course, don't forget, there's a little place called the Oxfordshire FA that you might want to approach as well. And Michael Thurlow, who's also on our committee as a vice chair, will be glad to help you, won't you, Michael?
Of course, always happy to help. It's been brilliant speaking to you both and finding out a little bit about the Oxfordshire Over 50s League and Over 50s football in the county. And we all look forward to seeing how the league develops over the coming season. And we might have to check back in 12 months' time to see how you're getting on.
Excellent, thank you.
This has been an Oxfordshire FA production. If you'd enjoyed this team talk, like, comment and share, and check out our playlist for future episodes.